why it's coming out now is we wanted to wait, to get through all of the legal proceedings, the criminal trial, and it spans, it's, four parts, and it spans over 30 years of, pop culture, his life. So it took some time, to say the least, to put all of this together.
It's an important story, and you could just tell it with all the public material. Mm-hmm. You go further, you've gotten your hands on some extra new material people are going to see for the first time, including this video. Any journalist would want to know how you got it, but it is Sean Diddy Combs in the heat of this, right before the arrest for the trial we just discussed, in private moments, talking to his lawyer, cameras running.
He also underestimated that a lot, some of, with every celebrity, you do have different claims and some are completely unfounded. But I think that some of these lawsuits, there's receipts. Mm-hmm. And there's footage and there's voice recordings. And I think that for a man, it's also very interesting, for the culture of hip hop, so many artists record themselves, and they probably, when they were, recording themselves in 2005, never saw the year 2025 and how accessible that media would be to actually make a case for things.
50 Cent's latest Netflix documentary hit screens on Tuesday and immediately set social media ablaze, launching a relentless deep dive into Diddy's ascent to power and the unraveling that followed. Built on rare archival footage, sharp editing, and voices once kept out of the spotlight, the film wastes no time pulling viewers into a high-stakes world that had long been shielded by influence and reputation. From the opening minutes, it's clear this isn't a celebration, it's an examination.
From Greg Kading, the detective that worked on Tupac and Biggie's case in this documentary. He is the investigator that did that proper agreement with Keefe D way back in 2008, where Keefe D alleged that Diddy tried to offer him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. And Tupac's trial with Keefe D is coming up very soon in early 2026. And we know that Diddy's name has been dropped at least 200 times during these proceedings.
And Puff created the atmosphere for both of those guys to lose their lives.
I honestly, when I look back on it, if he trusted Sean more, it would have been better. But he didn't trust him as much as the way Sean says they were best friends after he was dead. Nah, I didn't see that.
Former Bad Boy Records employees describe an era defined by pressure, loyalty tests, and blurred boundaries between business and control. What once looked like opportunity from the outside often felt like survival on the inside. Contracts, ownership, and creative freedom were constantly in flux, leaving artists unsure whether they were partners or pawns.
Waiting the whole time for Aubrey O'Day to reveal some major story that happened between her and Diddy. 3 episodes in, she's basically just talking about Diddy in a very general way. It isn't until the 4th episode that Aubrey reveals a witness walked in on Aubrey O'Day completely inebriated with Diddy doing things to her, as well as a second man who they refer to as a light-skinned, tall man. Details are very explicit and not anything I could share on here. This witness revealed that it was 100% Aubrey O'Day. It was really uncertain in watching Aubrey's reaction and kind of resharing this story whether or not she fully recollected the situation. He says it couldn't have been her choice to become inebriated because that was never her issue. She never really drank a whole ton. The earlier parts of this series, Aubrey does reveal these series of emails that she got from Diddy. They were all in very sexual nature, in a very sexual tone. He's basically asking her to come over and do certain things with him. It's these very domineering emails where he's basically setting the tone that he's the boss. She says that she felt very uncomfortable about those emails, and 6 months later.
Rapper Mark Curry revisits the 1990s with the clarity of hindsight, describing a label environment fueled by ambition but shadowed by fear. He speaks less about music and more about atmosphere, an emotional climate where competition, ego, and external threats collided daily. According to Curry, the pressure wasn't only creative, it was psychological.
I know with CCNY, it looked like the coast was clear. We were renegotiating with Arista. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't know why he needed to get that back from me and then give it back to me again. I didn't understand that. That's like a trick. Like, okay, here, I gave it to you, now give it back, and don't worry, I'm gonna give it right back to you. I didn't want to give it up. So he came into my office one day unexpected, him and Kenny Marsalis, they had it planned out. Kenny had the briefcase with all the stock certificates in it, and Diddy had the bat. Not like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you with the bat, but he had the bat like, man, we got to do this. This has to happen. I didn't feel I was gonna get beat down in that office, in all honesty. I got people that can jump out of the shadows in a minute. I wasn't threatened by him. What I was messed up over was the fact that I started this company with you from day zero, and now the one solid thing that you told me I had, you want to take that back and do a return to me on that at this critical time that we're renegotiating and getting a step up on the contract. When he told me it was about all of that renegotiating and that I should trust, I did, begrudgingly, angry, upset. It wasn't right. I did it. He got the stock back. I went on, tried to get over that, kept doing my job, doing what I had to do, delivering everything. And once again, I was caught up in the job. I forgot all about it. And next thing you know, we had the snafu. I was fired. And he just said, oh, okay, bye. And since he had never given me the stock back, he never said that he would pay me anything or give me anything. He just avoided me all these years. Not only did he avoid me all these years, running high and low, I went on and started working with Mary, who the three of
Roxanne Johnson adds a deeply personal layer, speaking not as an executive or performer, but as someone who watched the cost up close. She recalls isolation, neglect, and the emotional toll placed on artists once the spotlight faded. Her perspective challenges the glamour associated with success, exposing what happens after the cameras leave. It's not an industry story, it's a human one.
Pac's money, Pac wanted to leave, and it could be some other shit that was going on, but they still created an atmosphere for that. You understand that East Coast, West Coast bullshit. When Suge was trying to use the New York guys to, okay man, come on, let's make some sense of this shit. And have a meeting and sit down with the New York guys and ask for a representative for Puff to come on. Puff was mad. You see now why Puff was mad. Everybody know now why Puff was mad. That he didn't want nobody to come to the meeting because Suge was playing Pay Daddy. Suge was in there playing Play Daddy with Justin. It's crazy. I said, well, how you gonna be mad at Misa and the East Coast, West Coast? And now we see why he was mad. We don't know if Suge sent Puff those pictures years ago. We don't know that. But that's why Puff didn't send a representative when Zipman was asking him, man, let me represent, just let me know. Nah, man, F that. They trying to get a black distribution company, publishing company, all that. For hip-hop artists and music. Puff and Jay-Z ain't won't have shit to do with it. And look who get rewarded behind that. So, to answer your question, I think the atmosphere that they designed and made up led to what we know was the East Coast, West Coast war. And both of them had some responsibility in that.
You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you. Okay. When he looks over at you, and then Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
in the back seat or something.
Yeah. What do you see happening inside of their car?
I seen a bullet go in Suge's head. I thought he was dead. You thought he was dead.
So Orlando across Dre?
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, popped. They would drove on my side. I would pop them. You know what I'm saying? But they was.
Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrows reflects on the early days when the label was built on shared vision and trust, before power consolidated. He describes moments where control shifted quietly but decisively, turning partnership into hierarchy. His recollection of ownership disputes and internal conflict paints a picture of ambition overtaking loyalty.
On that one, keep the streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and read from the book.
Well, so let them buy the book then.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first skin shook in the head, and I thought that mother was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
White Cadillac, arm came out the back seat and started letting off.
What went through your head when you saw that?
They my name.
2008 proper agreement, he alleged that Diddy's friend Zip Martin is the one that gave him the weapon that was used to take out Tupac. And KPD told the investigator Greg Kading that Zip Martin had a special compartment to keep this weapon in his car that he drove to Las Vegas. And in this documentary, we have Greg Kading confirming that Zip Martin did drive the same type of vehicle that KPD alleged to Las Vegas this night. And then during this documentary, we heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burrows, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was
After Pac got Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The Fed said that too.
He said that actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been for hire and Puffy would be locked.
The documentary then pulls back to the wider industry, revisiting the East Coast, West Coast rivalry that defined the 1990s. Former insiders argue the conflict wasn't driven solely by artists, but by executives, branding wars, and unchecked competition. What began as marketing quickly escalated into something far more dangerous. In this retelling, music becomes collateral damage.
On the situation with Biggie, how he was the one in charge of planning this London media trip for Biggie that he was supposed to be on the night that he was actually unalived. Kirk Burrows claims Diddy is the one that canceled this trip and Biggie did not want to go out to Los Angeles. And Kirk Burrows feels like Diddy should be responsible for what happened to Biggie. What Kirk Burrows alleged next is what's really chilling. He said something that we have heard alleged many times. And he said that Biggie was actually leaving Bad Boy Records shortly before he passed away. Kirk Burrows alleged that Biggie already signed the paperwork to get out from underneath Bad Boy. Then Kirk Burrows went on to allege that after Biggie passed away, Diddy came to him and told him to change the terms in the contract that Biggie signed. And he claimed that he was so calculated that he told Kirk Burrows to just switch out the middle pages. That way on on the last page, Biggie's signature would still be there. That way Diddy could have
so soon, knowing that Tupac got killed 6 months earlier.
The award show season was up. We had to go out there to participate in that. We had records that were nominated. We were a budding, launching company that already launched, and we were successful. We could not go. But Biggie did have an inconvenience. He had a car accident. I think it was in Brooklyn, maybe downtown Brooklyn. He had a broken femur at that time, and he was recovering from that. Big sized person, could not really sit comfortably in a plane, not even first class, with a cast on. It was uncomfortable. He was talked into going to the LA portion of the trip so that he could be out there ahead of time. He was out in LA so there wouldn't be a big rush and bustle to get him there. So I think he was out there for a good week and a half ahead of time leading into the event. So being out there, we came to follow up and to have that night. And then he was supposed to, as per Arresta's marketing department, Arista, one of the best labels and distribution companies that you can have to back you, the legendary Clive Davis, who's backed so many artists, believed in Bad Boy so much, he put together a marketing campaign that was never seen before that campaign, and still wasn't seen, but it was put together so that Biggie could receive a international press junket in London with all press from around the world meeting him that Saturday, Sunday after the Friday award show night. He was supposed to go on an international flight with me. We have the itinerary still to this day. He was supposed to leave that early morning, go to London, and we would be out there for 2 or 3 days, and then he would go back to New York and go home. Diddy called Sean P. Diddy, whatever his name was during that time, called late Friday night, early Saturday morning, saying he's not going to London. Call Arista, cancel it. You go. You represent it. You go. He's not going. He wants to stay here in LA.
Kirk then went on to explain that Diddy pulled the budget for Biggie's security on purpose, so he would be left undefended.
You have a budget for everything that you do. The budget for Big in LA for the award show ended that Friday night, Saturday morning, when a new budget started to get him from LA to London, where he would be taken care of with security, his friends, and everyone that he wanted to be with him in the style that he was accustomed to handle the press junket. When that didn't happen, that budget was never opened. The budget for LA ended, and there was a great need for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security. The beef up. And we lost him. And in that decision, what it put us in, that decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in. We lost our number one talent. We're on a West Coast where we're surrounded by enemies who told us not to be here. We really shouldn't have been there, but we were. Now we have to get out of there. At that time, I brought most of the company with me. I had a lot of interns, young people. I had to account for them with their parents. We had to get them home. That weekend, I think we had to get Sean out first. 1, 2, 3 steps in the trunk of a car, moving out the city limits to another airport on that flight out. I stayed until Sunday-ish or so, making sure all the interns, all the executives, every last one of the kids that was out there with us was back east. And then we had to make preparations for Big's family to know where he was at, for them to make preparations to bring him back home.
Through layered testimony, the episode revisits the deaths of Biggie Smalls and Tupac, not to declare verdicts, but to expose unresolved questions. Contributors share long-held suspicions rather than legal conclusions, emphasizing how silence, fear, and industry politics stalled clarity for decades. The absence of answers becomes the story itself.
Hi, Gene, how are you?
All right, man, you know I ain't seen you since I came to your house and had that conversation with you. How you been? You all right?
I've been okay. I've been watching you on Facebook.
I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace. I'm sorry I had to do what I had to do, but you know, it is what it is.
I know you do.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Like I told people, I said if Ms. Wallace would have called me and told me to shut it down, I would have shut it down. Ms. Wallace ain't called. She knew how to get in touch with me. If Ms. Wallace didn't tell me to shut it down, I'm going to keep doing it because I respect you, Ms. Wallace.
Do what you do.
The first thing I said was, Ms. Wallace, if you tell me to stop, leave Puff, stop, no, I didn't say leave Puff. If you tell me to stop doing what I'm doing, I will. She said, no, G, I watch you. You keep doing it. You doing a good job. You, man, listen here. Yo, I was happier than one of them boys at a Diddy party. I was so happy, man, it was crazy. Cause this was the first time I had talked to Miss Wallace since the last time I talked to her and was telling them about Big.
Getting into what happened with Biggie. And Greg Kading alleged that Diddy wasn't helpful at all in the investigation into what happened to Biggie. We saw a lot of different records being put on the screen where it said he did not want to give any more info at this time, and this was at the hospital where Biggie passed away. And I also noticed this document that flashed on the screen that was from investigator Russell Poole. And Russell Poole said that he called Miss Wallace to update her on the investigation and that she was frustrated and angry that no one had been arrested for her son's unaliving. After bringing her up to date on the case and explaining our frustration with the lack of cooperation from Puppy Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, plus Biggie's own entourage's lack of further assistance in the investigation, Miss Wallace calmed down and understood the situation. Greg Kading said in this documentary he believed that Diddy did not cooperate with Biggie's investigation because it would have led investigators back to him with Tupac's unaliving. I always remember the saying that when you solve one of their cases, you will solve the other. And that's why I honestly...
As the episode closes, the documentary pulls all voices together into a single, unsettling portrait, an industry shaped by ambition, secrecy, and unchecked authority. What emerges isn't a simple rise and fall narrative, but a cautionary tale about power protected too long and examined too late.